your need, your desire, your yearning for more purpose, for more meaning, for more authenticity, for more creativity is real, is true. But when it comes to translating that into your practical life, you need to make sure that, whomever it concerns, be it your loved ones, be it, your co-workers, your family, or even your own inner energies can catch up with it. And that has a lot to do with our ability to be authentic, to bring ourselves into an expression, that is not too confrontative. That's why we talked about carefrontation last week. Welcome everybody to our energy update for week 34. That is for the 20th till the 26th of August 22. My name is Jona Bryndis. I'm an energy coach, energy healer, and visionary. Once a week here on Skype Live, I walk you through collective energies, what to expect this next week on an energetic level. Yeah, it's mainly for people who are energetically sensitive. Those are fundamentally reports that I am sharing with you rather than predictions, because for those of us who are energetically sensitive, these things are already reality. We can already feel them, and it's easy for me because I work with people from all around the world every day, and I see basically what this emotional, what this mental, psychological, if even physical or energetic component is that people seem to be working on right now. So let's dive into next week's energies and perhaps prepare a little bit if this is your first time watching. Yeah, it's not important that everything matches up for you. It's important that you tune into like how we are contextualizing things as energetically sensitives and how these things feel from within you. Yeah, so obviously we all have very individual lives, and these things don't apply to each and every one of us in the same way. It depends on our circumstances. But this next week, with the title Face It Till You Make It, has a quite fiery aspect to it. So this is fundamentally what we are experiencing right now, is that there's a lot of shifts. Yeah, it's this bam, bam, bam energy that I always talk about here for August, where it's really hard to catch up with some things because it's simply too much. So what does this do here to the collective and then ultimately also to us in this next week? Well, remember, we are not solitary beings. We are all operating here in this realm of, social networks and so forth, but also on an unconscious level. Yeah, our energies are also linked in with the collective unconscious. And even if some of these things don't apply to you right now, don't forget that other people, especially those, which is the majority still, isn't so aware of these things, isn't so clear about these external factors, these external energies that are sometimes influencing the way people feel. That they are very affected, and we are reaching the pinnacle here of August, bam, 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 energies with this week. And in that way, it's also a bit tricky because some people have been sucking up a lot in these last 3 weeks, and this will show next week. So unfortunately, I hate to report that, but it is a week where it's very possible that some of us get involved in, fights or disagreements with loved ones, with other people, maybe at work, perhaps even to the degree of domestic violence. This is very possible here in this week. So I'm sharing this with you if you are in a relationship that is, not very supportive and more on the toxic side of things. This is definitely a week where you want to be very, very conscious about how you are using words, how you are expressing yourself. Because a lot of these energies that are stuck in people have to do with not really getting out what it is that they need, that they want. Yeah, and often, that's because they're not fully aware of it, or, they don't have the framework that allows them to even, think freely about those things. Yeah, go back to the drawing board and become an active co-creator of their lives. So I want you guys to use your empathy and to understand that, when people get into this mood, this like sort of short, abrasive, kind of rude, yeah, rudeness will probably be part of our experience next week. It's not always personal, guys. Yeah. So if you are here, this means that you have a feeling for those energetic weather conditions, and you understand that it's not always just you. Okay. Sometimes it's best to lay low a little bit. This depends on the conflicts that arise. On the larger political arena, you can expect some very entertaining things happening in this next week. Yeah, well, we're literally steering toward an eruption of all these things that have been cooking, that have been marinating, that have been, sort of starting to pressure cook here over these last weeks. They're going to come out next week. Yeah, it's a big week in that way. However, for us personally, we need to manage our own energies accordingly. Yeah, and one of the things that most people underestimate that leads to us erupting, lashing out, sort of wanting to break free because we can't take it anymore, which in and of itself isn't bad, but a lot of times leads to us going into the other extreme. Yeah, it's like a pendulum, that tries to get enough energy to get out of the stagnation or get out of a confined situation. Then that energy is eruptive and often distortive, often, sort of disruptive for everything. And if we go too far out, all right, then the pendulum needs too long, okay, to find its equilibrium again. I don't know if this analogy works for you, but what I'm really saying is your need, your desire, your yearning for more purpose, for more meaning, for more authenticity, for more creativity is real, is true. But when it comes to translating that into your practical life, you need to make sure that, whomever it concerns, be it your loved ones, be it, your co-workers, your family, or even your own inner energies can catch up with it. And that has a lot to do with our ability to be authentic, to bring ourselves into an expression, that is not too confrontative. That's why we talked about carefrontation last week. Carefrontation is where we prioritize the empathy and the caring about the overall outcome of things. So let me rephrase all this again and say it in a simpler way. If there are things in your life that you want to change, and this is a good week, but look at how you're doing this. You don't want to go into black and white thinking. You don't want to go into premature conclusions. You don't want to go into all these misunderstandings that can happen when you mind read, or when you think you already know how the other feels and so forth, because it is too eruptive. Yeah, so there's a good energy that helps us to disrupt things that are not good for us, that are not conducive, say, for our self-love, but at the same time, they can also go over the top. All right, so face it till you make it basically hints at something that has to do with authenticity. If we have been sucking up things because we thought it was the right thing to do, or because we didn't want to hurt the other person's feelings, always leads to absorption. It leads to us becoming a pressure cooker. Yeah, when you fake it till you make it, because you're pretending something, you're pretending it's okay, or you're pretending that you can take it, or you're pushing yourself to your own limits. And that is not sustainable. It will eventually burst. And when you burst, it's not that the reason why you're bursting is wrong. It's just really the fact that you're bursting. And often that's unfair. Think of relationships. How many times has this happened that, you've been sort of okay, sort of, enabling things by not saying anything. Then all of a sudden, and what I always wanted to tell you is what I, have been, hating for the last 10 years is that when you do this or this or that. And that can often be unfair and lead to fights or disagreements that become bigger than they need to be. Because really, if you would have expressed that in like a more loving way, in a more confrontational way, by facing that which concerns you or that doesn't really match up with you, or that doesn't really work for you, then it gives the other the opportunity to make corrections, to make changes. And if we suck things up because we don't want to hurt the other person's feelings, that's an empathetic kind of thought, but it's often not the right thing to do, because it leads to you needing to absorb all of that, which then leads to you fundamentally lashing out. And the same, of course, happens for the other. So whether it's in a relationship or at work or in your family as a mom, here in America, it's back to school time, okay, all the stuff that you tolerated, say, throughout the summer, they need to go now because it's a new routine now. And if I can give you an example from my own life, I have an 8-year-old. We let them stay up till 10:30, 11 p.m. every night during the summer. That's almost 3 months, and now he has to go to bed at 8. And obviously he doesn't like this. So there's a lot of fights right now about going to bed, and that makes some things more difficult, because there's a certain sort of stress that arises through that in a family that could have been prevented by obviously preparing a little more for this, and like sort of slowly, gradually getting to bed early, but also by expressing it clearly that that's not an option. That leads to, let's say, in this case, my son being tired throughout the day, not really being able to focus, or being emotionally unstable, having a hard time regulating himself. So you see that there is a sort of a certain rationale, a reasoning that is necessary for some of the things that we want to change. So it's not just about us identifying what needs to be changed and, say who's contributing to this. It's also about, actually allowing the situation to unfold, by gradually taking the steps that lead all of us, like in this collaboration here, to the point where it's easier for the other to understand. So never underestimate the power of facing something that doesn't work for you in a caring and loving way, even if it may take a few attempts to get there. There's sort of a shift that has to occur, and it doesn't go right away, because if this is something new, if this is a disclosure that the other person was never aware of before, it takes the other person some time to process that. That's kind of like what we're seeing here in the collective right now. There are some examples that I could go into, if you look at it through the lens of what I just shared with you, like the revelations around the COVID vaccines, the revelations about, corruption and, what is going on here in world politics, okay? They are so obvious, and even though you have been seeing some of that before, it takes a little while for you to process the meaning of that and how you can then sort of respond to it. So a lot of this next week is about the willingness to face the confrontation of literally saying out loud what it is that you need, that you want, what it is that concerns you. But at the same time, also being willing to give it some time to unfold, all right? To not say, and now that I told you, I want you to change this right away. This is not how this goes. It's not feasible. So there's a pragmatism, yeah, there's a reason, a rationale that works versus our, hopes and dreams or how we want things. And that can lead to these clashes that I mentioned earlier, that in our relationships, work, family, etc. Yeah, we have to sort of tame that liberation aspect that is coming in, yeah, in a way that we give it a sort of a practical space to change. Yeah, so when you do that, and this is the energetic perspective of that, you are able to own all that. The reason why many of us backpedal, where we change our minds so many times, is because our expressions aren't aligned with what we're truly feeling. Yeah, maybe we had, this kind of lashing out, and then we feel guilty afterwards because, the form, how we did it, didn't really, match up with who we are as a person. And that then leads to us having a schism inside of ourselves about it, because we did express what we needed to express, but the way we expressed it wasn't according to, our own values. And in that, we often backpedal, yeah, and change our mind, or because we felt so guilty, we retracted, that we are ending up sort of tolerating or enabling the same things that we wanted to change in the first place. So it's really important that you keep an eye on, how authentic you are expressing yourselves, and that what you are expressing is aligned to your true needs and your true wants, basically to your heart. This is the overall shift that is happening now in all of us. Yeah, we are tired of just TikTok and meaningless lifestyles. We want to give everything a meaning. We need more motivation. And that's why, the authenticity in how we express ourselves, how we talk, how we walk, how we smile, how we, show the world, including our loved ones and co-workers, what works for us and what isn't, is being tested. Yeah. And just because you run into trouble there doesn't necessarily mean that what it is that you try to express was wrong. I see many of you having really, really good values for relationships, for work, and you're really trying, but you keep trying it with the wrong people. And this is the kind of schism that you need to address, because the fact that you are in these wrong places, yeah, with wrong people, wrong type of work, wrong relationships, is because something in your expression, how you present yourself into the world, your sense of self, yeah, and the confidence that you have along with that doesn't match up. Yeah, if it had matched up in the first place, you wouldn't have been attracted to a person like this or a job like this. You see? So in the end, it all points back to us and to the choices that we make. And the more conscious we make these choices, the more realistic we have to become. It's not enough to just say, oh, it's all bad and I hate this and I don't want this and I don't want this, and finding the flaws and everything, and never really defining, well, how do you want it then? Yeah, so this is kind of like the energy of next week. Yeah, go back to well, how do you want it then? Go back to your vision board. Yeah, correct it, readjust it, realign it to who you are now, so that whatever it is that you put out into this world, not just the universe, the world, like on a day-to-day level, the way you talk, the way you present yourself, the way you hold yourself, your stance in life, your I am awareness is what determines what you attract into your life, guys. It's not the affirmations, it's not your intention, it's not what you're thinking up in your mind, because there can be a huge difference between, your intention and all these things that you're thinking up in your mind and the way you present it. That needs to match up. So the overall energy here in this next week, for those of you who are interested, is challenging. Your fourth chakra, that's your heart chakra. That's the ability to even feel yourself and, your authentic sense of self in regards to what you truly want, what you truly need, what your values, what your priorities are. And your fifth chakra, you can already hear this, all right? This is the way you express yourself, your authenticity, the kind of words, the communication that you're using. And your third chakra, your solar plexus, that's your will, that's your intention. And when these three chakras are not lined up with another, what happens is that you are unconsciously attracting things into your life that do not match up. Yeah, and the reason why we feel this sort of discontent right now with what we have co-created is because we weren't aware of what we're co-creating. And the way through that is to face it till we make it, not fake it till we make it. We face every little thing that we need to correct, that we need to improve, and we communicate it, we express it accordingly, step by step. That is how this goes. We are co-creators of our lives. Yeah, so what we put out there in this world is fundamentally what transforms into our reality. And this is not just for us as individuals, also for us as collective. And this might help you to understand why there is so much turmoil in our collective, because, guys, what have we been putting out here in the last 2 years as a collective? Fear, black and white thinking, yes, degradation, judgment, extremes. And that is what we are now sort of reaping. Yeah. So whenever there is this schismatic existence, when we live with inner contradictions, okay, it manifests a life full of contradictions. And it wastes our energy away because we may think we have the right goals or the right intentions, but it's not coming to expression. From a deeper energetic perspective, what is going on here in this next week has to do with masculine and feminine energies. So there is a clash of these inner masculine and feminine. So the feminine wants to go into more unfolding, into more expansion, more abundance and creativity. The masculine in us wants results, wants directions, wants strategies, wants to have it now. And whenever we have these times where these two energies within ourselves, they're within all of us, clash, yeah, we become schismatic. And when that clash, that's why I used the word domestic violence earlier, it gets so big that there is no compromise, that there is no conflict resolution possible. That's when things get eruptive. So this next week is very eruptive. I'm also seeing lots of more earthquakes, not just in Iceland. Okay, so we have more of that going on. My tip for you here is what I said in the beginning, to be mindful of your communication, of your expression, and to maybe work on expressing more what you want rather than what you don't want. So that's where the facing comes in. Yeah, the sucking up isn't noble. That just gets you into a bad place and ultimately leads to you lashing out. Another thing is to use your energies to really center yourself more often throughout the day in your heart, with your breathing, with your grounding. We do the energy prayers on Tuesdays, again here at Skype Live. That's a very beautiful exercise, 5 minutes, to just sort of get more into yourself and touch down with your I am awareness, with your authentic sense of self. Another tip is we have the True Self session coming up next week. This is a monthly free energy session for everybody. You can sign up for this. You have to RSVP. I cannot work with your energy without you signing up, with you registering for the live session, and then we have the webinar after the energy session. Yeah, so look at the calendar. It's on August 24th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Other than that, greater goal of this transition, of this shift here, which is basically sort of pointing at the energies of 2023 already, is that we come to a place of more conscious awareness of who we are, what our stance is in life. And guess why? Because it's being tested. What is testing it? It's the schism, it's the chaos, it's the lies, it's the all the stuff that has led to us questioning ourselves. And you can call this evil energies if you want, yeah, but you can also just look at it from inside out and see how your own attitude to it yourself has contributed to something like that even getting a foothold in you. So when we look at the energetic perspective, we're looking at removing the stuff in you, the shit magnets, as I call them, the docking stations where these kind of chaotic and schismatic energies can even latch on to you. And energy awareness and energy management, the things that I train here at transCODES are all there to help us to identify this more clearly and to catch it before it can latch on. Yeah, we can obviously not prevent ourselves from running into our own blind spots, but even that can be trained. Yeah, this self-mastery training. Yeah, learning how to master our thoughts, our thinking, our emotions, our expressions, our goals and values, and ultimately our stance in life. Because that is the light. That is the counter energy to the evil energy, if you will, to the dark forces. It is you recognizing that you are the light. And that with each and every person on this planet that has that I am awareness, that I am light. Okay? What can I say? You become immune. You are able to cut through the coldness, through the chaos, through the lack, through the fear. So all these things that are shared here today in regards to next week are not just important next week, they're always important, and especially next year. But this week we're going to get a little sort of taste of that. And then when we see each other again next Friday at the precipice of this very, very significant new moon weekend here for August, we're going to talk a little more about what these steps are that we can take, yeah, to prevent ourselves from getting pulled into these outer, yeah, these dark forces that are, sort of bombarding us right now to the point where it may make us lose our sense of self, yeah, and confidence and motivation and, the courage to be ourselves. Yeah, so it is your authentic sense of self, yeah, your true self, that is under attack. So with that, I would like to leave you into this next week. Please feel free to ask questions, comment on how it's going for you. I see that some of you regularly report, you may watch the energy update, after the week is done, and, just share with us how it went for you, or if you had experiences like that, even if you had other experiences. Yeah, let's make this a collective experience here. There's a lot of people watching this and very few people commenting. Yeah, so let's not continue to hide. Let's express ourselves more authentically, but without, the disruption that comes, through us having absorbed or sucked up too much. Yeah. I hope that you found some snippets here, yeah, that maybe inspire you, or that, give you new ideas, or give you some navigation tips, yeah, for collective energies right now. I'm seeing you again next Tuesday for the energy prayer, Wednesday for the energy talk, also for the true self session next Wednesday, and then again next Friday for the energy update. Thank you guys for being here. See you very soon. Bye bye.